Dianna Russini to come on at some point this week. All I said was, how hellish is your week? And she hits me up the day before and says, I can do tomorrow on draft day. What is wrong with you? Your life has to be just out of control right now. And today is the day that you choose to join in for this stupidity?
Queen.
I love chaos. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pack my calendar, base my schedule all day. I'm back to back to back TV, radio, almost up into the draft because I'm bored at this point, and I'm anxious, and I just figure if I stay busy, we can get to the first pick here and just get this thing moving because this has been a really, really long few weeks. And truthfully, just based on all the conversations I'm having with people in the league today, everyone is just kind of trying to find a balance of feeling comfortable and confident in what their plan is while also freaking out and panic that that plan is all going to go down the toilet because things are going to go crazy off the top. So coming on the show is actually therapeutic, shockingly.
That speaks to a whole different level of like therapy needed that I can't even possibly have enough time to dive into. At DM Russini is where you can follow her. You can watch her tonight on the Athletics NFL Draft Show streaming live. So you're in Detroit.
Okay, so I am not in Detroit,
okay.
But for those that are listening right now, like most people are going to have the NFL Network on, ESPN. Awesome.
Yes.
If you go to the Athletic tonight, if you just go to our app or you go to our website, we're going to have this live blog going with all of our reporters, all of our insiders, all of our analysts, just basically having one big group chat about everything happening, and everyone's got great intel and connections, so it's a good place to just have maybe to the right side of you and maybe the left, depending on where you're sitting tonight while you're watching this, just to kind of hear what the talk is. And then we're also doing a video, like a YouTube show that you can just go to the Athletic NFL YouTube channel, and we're going to be live. Robert Mays is going to be hosting. We have Dane Brugler, our expert essentially this time of year, and Nate Tice, our analyst, along with me, where I'm going to be hopefully giving some insight as to what these teams are thinking before the pick and what's been going on behind the scenes.
So it's going to be excellent coverage as always. Yet another great reason to subscribe to The Athletic for all of the in-depth coverage that not just Dianna provides, but her colleagues as well. Even Joe Rexrode, even Dopey Joe. So with this particular draft process, it does have the potential to be record-setting. We haven't had as many as 19 offensive players taken in the first round of a draft since 2009 when Matt Stafford went 1 overall. Do you feel, based on your conversations, that we could break that record tonight?
You just reminded me, Joe texted me to go on a show like a week ago, and I never wrote back.
Eat it, Rexrode. Eat it.
Sorry,
yes.
Rexrode. I love him, and I want to have a good relationship with him because he's a colleague of mine, and he's just a good soul.
No, that's not true. Stop.
With right now, he's a good person. So thanks for the guilt now because I got to reach out to him later.
I have to do a podcast with him on Saturday. I'll tell him for you. Don't worry. I'll be real nice.
Plus, I want to talk to him a little bit about what Tennessee's going to do. So, look, these things are hard to gauge because this morning I'm talking to somebody trying to get up into the top 7, I'd say. And he's like, I'm telling you, 7, 8, 9, 10, all open for business, and they want to do it, and teams are coming up because after about the 12th, 13th pick, it falls off. It's just in terms of the talent. So, yeah, there's definitely a chance, based on the way teams are studying this, that we see a lot of action in this first round. But I've said that same thing before, and it's dead. So we just got to see how this thing heats up. I can tell you, though, teams that are trying to move up are anxious as heck right now, especially those that are trying to move up for the quarterback, because there's so many different scenarios, and there are scenarios where you're going to see some teams get boxed out. And they may not publicly say, oh, my gosh, we got boxed out and we had to go with this guy. But there's obviously reality to all of this. So managing and just like listening to people's voices today, and even reading between the lines and some of the texts that I've received and in some of the chatter of just, hey, checking in on you. And everyone is on edge because especially those teams that want their quarterback, most of them, they need that answer in this draft. They don't have a lot of time.
So with that being said, you've obviously spent a lot of time covering the Jets, not just with the Aaron Rodgers saga, but while Zach Wilson was there as well. He's probably the latest draft quarterback cautionary tale. There's just so many factors that go into this, Dianna, where we're talking about 5 first-round quarterbacks a couple of years ago, and only one of them we have any kind of really concrete feeling about in Trevor Lawrence, and he's yet to kind of prove himself as anything but, I would say, league average based on the sample size that we have. How much variance do you feel like there are from teams about these specific quarterback prospects this year?
It is a great question because I've been asking every GM, head coach, scout, personnel, anyone involved in this, the same question over the last few days because it feels varied. And not so much at the top, right? So Caleb, pretty much across the board, with the exception of one head coach I spoke to who studied all the quarterbacks, said to me just straight up, he's like, I just have Jalen Daniels above him. Like, and we went through it a little bit. But other than outside of him, most people I talk to is like, yeah, it's Caleb, it's a lock. People see it. It makes sense. I do think Caleb, the sparkle, so to speak, of what he can bring has been dimmed a little bit, only because everyone knows that the Bears love him, and this has been pretty much set since around the Combine. So I think fans probably should not forget how great of a player he is. It's just not as exciting because it's just such an obvious pick at this point. But I do have the variance really in Jalen Daniels and Drake May. That's where I've seen teams have a little bit of a different opinion on it. I've had teams, obviously, that we're seeing now that really, really, really like Drake May. And then you have J.J. McCarthy in all this. And I have one team who has J.J. McCarthy that's in for a quarterback. This team is looking for a quarterback. They've got J.J. McCarthy ahead of Drake May. They have him almost close to Jaden Daniels, but they're going to stick with trying to get J.J. So it gets a little dicey after Caleb, and then once you get past Daniels, then I think that's where it really opens up. And Michael Penix Jr., Buck, is the name the last few days that people are telling me that I need to stop ignoring him. Not that I am, but we're just not giving him that much attention. And I just believe that he could be one of those quarterbacks that are drafted slightly higher than what we expected headed into this thing.
At DM Russini is where you can follow her on Twitter. You can read her great coverage at theathletic.com, where her and her colleagues will be breaking down the NFL draft live tonight. You can check out their insider chatter. How about that? It's much better than a Twitter live stream where you're trying to guess picks or find leaks or all kinds of other nonsense. With that being said, the idea that Penix is being, I'll use my words, just kind of slept on in this, is that just because like there's other more high profile prospects that are taking up more oxygen in this discussion, that there's just not enough room to go around? Because the idea that one of the quarterbacks playing in the national championship game would be some kind of like sleeper pick is crazy. I mean, I know we're still talking about potential first round, but that just conceptually is wild to me.
I know. It kind of makes me laugh, too, just based on my own observation and how I've been collecting information. I've left him out of the conversation when I'm asking about quarterbacks in a couple situations. I'm like, why am I doing this? And some of it is essentially what you just painted, which is there's so many other names that someone is getting left out of the dance a little bit, and it's him in the conversation. But that does not mean he's being left out of the conversation in these buildings. So I had someone yesterday who's actually not in for a quarterback this draft say to me, we graded Penix high, and it was a little bit by accident. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, we have guys that are looking at O-line, right? Our staff is all looking at film and stuff, just trying to see who we like or who we want to pick, who's better, blah, 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 all the work that they put into this. He's like, but because we're watching Washington, we're coming across we're seeing the quarterback and going, oh my God, this kid can play. And so it's almost, he's become a byproduct, I think, of a lot of scouts and coaches doing work on his teammates. And it's helped, I think, it's helped build and put him in front of the right people as we're obviously getting closer, just a few hours away from the draft. So that's just one example of how a player's stock can go up.
All right. Harbaugh at 5 with the LA Chargers. How much of it is real? How much of it is smoke, the idea that they're in play for the tackle that high?
Real. They're real. I've been told from the start, look where Jim just had success. Michigan. Yes, JJ is a solid quarterback. It was their O-line, right? That helped them and was the strength of that team. He believes in building the team inside out, and this would go in line. Now, this is a team that has so many needs, that I do believe they are open to trading out as well, as they should be, to try to get more to continue to build after what we saw they did in the offseason. And they really are in a cap situation that they got to manage and fix, and they've got a lot of balls in the air in terms of trying to get this thing right. So it actually makes a lot of sense that he would be in the business of that. So, look, teams are calling. They have called. They have not hung up on teams. So they're at least listening, which is good because obviously you hear a team like Chicago, they haven't picked up their phone once because they're so set in what they're doing. So that at least tells you that if someone's willing to come up, and most likely a team like, let's say, Denver, trying to get ahead of the New York Giants for J.J. McCarthy, let's say, that would make a lot of sense. And that's a Denver team that has a lot that they're willing to put on the table to make this move.
And Dianna, it's Denver, it's Vegas.
Wait, since when do you ask questions?
And it's,
I was
shut
just
up.
going to say, who's talking?
Oh, man.
Dianna, he's got a God complex. He has to be stopped. They promoted him. They moved him in here with me. I can't control him anymore.
That one's going to be tough to come back from.
I know. I forgot to say congratulations on the studio move. I heard all about it. That's big. Congrats. That's awesome. I love that everyone wants you in the building, seeing that face of yours. But now you also get to talk in the studio, so I'm excited about this.
Thank you, Dianna.
I'm not. Why does nobody care what I want
that much
around
closer
here?
to forcing him out of here.
Unbelievable.
But it is those three teams, right? It's Denver, it's Minnesota, it's Vegas that are sort of on the outside looking in as the teams that we talk about as candidates to try and trade up for a quarterback. Is there a team we're not talking about outside of that top 12, 13 that could be looking to make a move up, whether it's for a quarterback or otherwise?
Oh, yeah. There are most of the teams outside of those 12 are trying to get up. So in terms of interesting, the Colts have made some calls. The Buffalo Bills have made some calls. I do think there's a small detail that fans may not realize because I see a lot of traffic whenever I put out information about this team called that team. It's always explained to me, everyone's calling everybody all the time anyway. So it's not news that, let's just say, the Kansas City Chiefs at 32 are calling up to 15 to 14 to 13 because they should be doing that, right? Because they're doing the due diligence. But in terms of perhaps getting back in, the Houston Texans are a team that I expect to at least make all the effort in the world. And some of that is based on how Nick Caserio runs the Houston Texans, what you've seen him do over the last few seasons. I mean, for the last 3 years, he's trading. 1 year he went with 8, 1 year he went with 6, 1 year he went with 3. That's a lot. There's one thing to trade a few on draft day and draft weekend, but I think he enjoys that. It must be entertaining for the Texans because they've been so consistent with it and they've had success building their team that way. So I have a hard time believing the Houston Texans are going to be left out of the excitement tonight.
It was an exciting draft for them last year, and last year was an interesting draft because I was surprised to see you here on last Thursday or last first round of the NFL draft. There were some rumblings around the Titans and a potential move up into the first round, and ultimately they ended up with Peter Skoronski sticking and picking at 11, and C.J. Stroud goes to the Texans, and we know how the rest of the story plays out there. This year is a very, very important draft for Rand Carthon for this organization. Dianna, he told us on Tuesday that he's treating it like his first NFL draft because a new head coach, a new system, and it feels like, just from my observations, a little bit less constraining on him. If you're just educated guessing, Joe Alt or the field, what are you thinking at 7?
Look, I think if Alt is there, they're taking it, but I know that they are very open to listening because going back to what I was painting, or the picture I was painting a little while ago of just these teams that are now aggressively trying to move up, knowing that the talent fall off after round 12, it changes. So I think they're going to listen and be open to that. So if you're saying right now, I'm thinking they're trading out. So we'll see what happens, but I do know the building loves Alt. But there is a scenario too if Harbaugh takes them with the Chargers there. So then what? And from what I've been able to gather, wide receiver is also on the table for the for the Titans. So that could be another space they go into. So look, the Titans are in this really weird position. They're in a good position, but they really have to see what happens in front of them, which is why they have different versions, obviously, in mocks of how this is going to go. But if Rand has any nervousness at all, which that's not even his personality today, he shouldn't, because I do believe that either way, they're coming out of this thing with a top player or a lot more picks where they could really use in certain areas on that roster.
Where else can people watch you on television today?
I am going to be joining Colin Cowherd today at 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like I mentioned on YouTube tonight on the Athletic NFL show, you will be able to see me there. But check out our Athletic live group chat there. It's going to be cool from what I recall, too, even last year, hopping on it when I was at ESPN. I used to go to the Athletics blog to check it out because I just knew the information was so good. But, man, Buck, you're right. What a difference this is this year compared to last year, when I remember being in that Titans building and sweating because I didn't know what was going to happen. I had an idea who Tennessee wanted, and my source in Houston was telling me who they were going for, which turned out to be who it was. But I don't know if the rest of the world knew that at the time. And I remember my biggest regret is I wish I just said it more. I wish I just reported it, but I chickened out. But either way, I'd be lying if I didn't say I've wondered what it would have been like if C.J. Stroud did wind up with the Titans. But
you wonder? Are you kidding me?
Let's not cry over spilt milk there. So, would love to know, if they could redo it, how they would have. Would they have tried to trade all the way up with Chicago to try to get that top spot, knowing that other teams were in, especially it being the Texans, right? Like, of all teams, to lose a top quarterback to. So, but then again, as I'm told all the time, so much of this is luck. So as much as I want to say good job, D'Amico, good job, Nick Caserio, at the same time, some of that is luck.
Dianna, is Draft Day a good movie?
Never seen it.
Nobody in football has seen this movie. It's not even worth asking.
Wait, that's common?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people not seen Draft Day. It's just
Ramon Foster has not seen it.
It's just another terrible Kevin Costner movie. I'd rather just watch a terrible season of Yellowstone and move on with my day.
Oh, my God.
What are you guys watching right now, by the way? Is there something you're watching on Netflix or?
Lucas?
I got to think.
Okay, that's not very helpful.
The Boys on Amazon Prime.
I just got around to Ted Lasso, so I'm not very helpful here.
Okay. I just finished. We're not big TV people because we just don't have time.
When the hell do you have time to watch TV? Don't you have two small children running around? There's an NFL draft going on. I'm stressed for you.
I do. I can't stand them right now. But I love my boys.
Actually, the answer.
I have to preface this.
The answer is The Young and the Restless for us. Actually.
We are watching soaps right now. We don't have the draft coverage on anywhere. We're watching soaps on CBS right now.
I want that. That's the kind of mom I want to be. I want to be the mom that sends her kids to school and sits home and watches soaps.
I'm trying to be that kind of mom with Lucas, and all he does is step on my toes, Dianna. I don't know what to do. Get out of here already. We appreciate your time.
Let her answer.
Hopefully Lucas isn't anything like Mikey and Joey, who I swear my boys know when I'm anxious. And they were absolute animals this morning before I sent them off to school. It's just they know. They're throwing the food. They're fighting with each other. But my 1-year-old doesn't talk. He can only say 2 words, mama and football. I swear. That's the only 2 words he can say.
Hell yeah.
Walking around the kitchen, football. I'm like, that's right, buddy.
Excellent. Hey, you're so good to join us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for making us smarter, and we'll be sure to check her out on Colin Cowherd later this afternoon. And you can also see her as a part of the Athletics live-streamed YouTube show on their Athletic NFL channel, as well as the live blog that they will have going in the app and at theathletic.com. Thanks so much, Dianna.
Thank you so much, guys. Good luck tonight.
That is Dianna Russini with us on 104.5 The Zone.